So today we are going to study about the neuroglia. So let's start. So what is neuroglial cells? See, neuroglial cells are the supporting cells which support your nervous system, right? They are the cells which do not transmit the impulse. Means like your neurons we have studied, they transmit the impulse from one neuron to the another neuron, and likewise they reach your brain by through the sensory neurons, and there they compute the information, then through the motor neurons they send, right? Means the impulse is sending. But if we talk about the neuroglial cells, they do not transmit the impulse, right? They do not transmit the impulse, right? So if they do not transmit the impulse, right? So what they are called? They are also called then non-neural cells. Means neural cells means your nerve cells. So they are also called your non-neural cells, or we call them glial cells, right? Or we call them glial cells, right? Now if we have to classify this, how would we classify? We will classify the neuroglial cells. The classification of neuroglial cells depending upon its distribution, right? Depending upon its distribution. So if we classify the neuroglial cells according to the distribution, how would we classify? Let's see that the neuroglial cells, right, they are classified on the basis of distribution, means wherever they are present, right? So if we see the distribution of the neuroglial cells, they are present at the two sides, means your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system. So if the neuroglial cells are present in the central nervous system, then they are called central glial cells, right? Because they are present in the central nervous system, so they are called central glial cells. And if the same, if we talk about the neuroglial cells that are present in the peripheral neurosystem, so they are called peripheral neuroglial cells, or the peripheral glial cells, whatever you say, right? So you know that now the glial cells, these are they do not transmit the impulse, so they are called the non-neural cells or the glial cells, right? Just one thing more to remember, that the why then they are present, they provide the support to the nervous system, means your central nervous system also, your peripheral nervous system also. So they provide the support to the nervous system, so they are called also the supporting cells. Fine. So the neuroglial cells are also called your supporting cells. So if I talk about the neuroglial cells, they are classified on the basis of their distribution, means wherever they are present. So we have the two classification. First one is your central glial cells, because they are present in the central nervous system, and the peripheral neuroglial cells, because they are present in the peripheral nervous system. So we will talk it one by one, that what is that what are the types of the central glial cells and how they are classified in the peripheral neuroglial cells, right? First of all, we'll talk about the central glial cells or the central neuroglial cells. If we see, your central glial cells are further divided into your three parts, right? That is your astrocytes. It's very simple. Astrocytes, your microglial cells or microglia, whatever you say, and your oligodendrocytes. right? We'll talk it in detail one by one. Let's move to that. Okay, we will see that how the glial cells are classified centrally, right? Now we have seen that centrally glial cells are classified into the three types, that are your astrocytes, your microglial cells or your microglia, and the third one is your oligodendrocytes. Let's talk one by one that what are they, right? If I talk about the astrocytes, see, your astrocytes are your star shaped cells. Fine. These are the star shaped cells. And if I talk about the astrocytes also, these are also further classified into two types. That is your fibrous astrocytes and your protoplasmic astrocytes, right? It's very easy, don't worry. You just have to remind the name. Other story I'll frame it so that it feed it in your mind. So, if you talk about the astrocytes, see, they are star-shaped cells and they also provide the support to the nervous system centrally because they are present centrally. That is why they are classified under your central glial cells. Simple, right? So, if we see that astrocytes cells are star-shaped cells and they provide the support to the nervous system, your central nervous system. And if we see, they are further classified into two types, there is your fibrous astrocytes and your protoplasmic astrocytes. Now if I talk about the fibrous astrocyte only, that what is the speciality of the fibrous astrocyte, right? If I have to say that your fibrous astrocytes, then what is would be the, see, your fibrous astrocytes, they are present or they are widely distributed in your white matter, right? Your fibrous astrocytes are present or widely distributed in your white matter. You know now that what is gray matter and what is white matter. Okay, let me tell you very briefly that white matter is the part of the neuron that has the axon, right? Because it has the myelin sheet, so it gives your white appearance, right? And if you talk about the gray matter, that is your cell body part of the neuron. So they are called your gray matter because it do not have the myelin sheath, and so it gives the appearance of gray color. Fine. So if I talk about the now fibrous astrocytes, the fibrous astrocytes are widely distributed in the white matter, right? And we know where are they present? They are present in the brain and the spinal cord, means they are present centrally because they are the division of the central glial cells, right? So they are widely distributed in the gray matter, widely present or distributed, right? And the second point is the little one, or the little means in a small amount, it's also present in the gray matter, right? The white, it is mostly distributed in the white matter, but a little amount is also present in the gray matter. So now we will see, we have now known that the astrocytes are your star shaped cells and they are present in the white matter and a little amount in the gray matter also. Now let us see that what is its role, or first of all we will discuss what is its role and then we will see its function, means it is one of the same thing only. See, you know the fibrous astrocytes, what they do, the processes of the fibrous astrocytes, they send its processes uh, to the capillaries, fine, to the blood vessels of the brain and to the blood vessels of the brain. So there what they do, especially the capillaries, there what they do, they form the tight junction, right? If they form the tight junction, then they form the barrier. That barrier is called your blood brain barrier. It's very important, very important, because your blood brain barrier is very important. So if we know that blood brain barrier is formed by your fibrous astrocyte only, right? What they do, they send its processes, they send its processes to whom? Yes, now I already told you, to the blood vessels, and especially to whom? especially the capillaries. Fine. If this send its processes to the blood vessels, especially the capillaries, so by sending the processes, what they do, they form the tight junctions there. Thereby formation of what? Triple B. And now what is your triple B? I have already told you, that is your blood brain barrier. Okay, your blood brain barrier. Fine. Now you know that your fibrous astrocytes, they form the blood brain barrier by forming the tight junctions by giving its processes to the blood vessels, especially the capillaries. Right. Now we will see the your protoplasmic astrocytes also. Right. The second one. If we talk about the protoplasmic astrocytes, what they do, see, your protoplasmic astrocytes, like your fibrous astrocytes, are widely distributed in your white matter. So your protoplasmic astrocytes are distributed in the gray matter, right? So what they do, what is the role of them? They sends its processes, like your fibrous astrocytes, they send its processes to whom? The fibrous astrocytes send its processes to the blood vessels. But the protoplasmic astrocytes, what they do, they send its processes to the, or they send its processes between the nerve cell bodies. Okay, because they have to provide the support simply. Fine. Now together we will see the function of it. What is the function of astrocytes? Means we will together discuss the function of the protoplasmic astrocytes also and the fibrous astrocytes also. Now we know that the astrocytes are of two types, that is your protoplasmic astrocytes and your fibrous astrocytes, right? But we have seen the difference also. Your fibrous astrocytes are widely distributed in the white matter, whereas your protoplasmic astrocytes, they are widely distributed in the gray matter. Your fibrous astrocytes, they send its processes to the blood vessels, especially the capillaries, to form the tight junctions there, thereby forming the blood brain barrier. But your protoplasmic astrocytes, to whom they send its processes, they send its processes between the nerve cell bodies to provide the support to them, right? So now we will see the function of the astrocytes together, both of them. What they do, they make the tight junction. You know the tight junction where I am talking about, tight junction. So they make the tight junction forming the blood brain barrier. I'll write BBB, that means your blood brain barrier, right? So forming the blood brain barrier, thereby what is the function of the blood brain barrier? Means what they do, they will blood brain barrier, it helps that it will prevent the entry of all the things from the blood. Means it acts as your sieve, right? It only allows the special entry of the things, right? Whatever the brain needs or what is suitable for the brain, so it will allow that only. Means many things will be washed out until it reaches the brain from the blood, right? So they make the tight junctions forming the blood brain barrier, thereby allows only the selective entry. You understand? They allows only the selective entry from the blood. All is coming from the blood only, na? From the blood to brain. So, what the blood-brain barrier do? Blood-brain barrier allows only the selective entry from the blood to the brain. Fine. And what is the second function of it? If it allows that, so it will provide the, or it maintains or regulate the environment of ECF, right? So it's regulate the environment of extracellular fluid by allowing only the selective entry. Understand? So if we talk about the third function, it also regulates the neurotransmitter. You know now what is neurotransmitter. If you don't know, please go to my previous video and see there. See, it also regulates the neurotransmitter, right? You know what is neurotransmitter? It is the chemical only which is secreted by your synaptic vesicle to transmit the impulse from one neuron to the another neuron. So it also regulates the neurotransmitter, and it also helps to recycle the neurotransmitter, right? Means use again. And fifth and last function of the astrocyte is it provides, which is common for all the neuroglial cells, it provides support to the central nervous system neurons, right? It provides a support to the neurons by sending its processes to the cell bodies. You know that. Fine. So with this, our astrocytes complete. Let me show you the picture of it so that it will be more clear to you. So if you can see here, the the central neuroglial cells. Fine. We have seen that the central neuroglial cells are divided into three parts, that is your astrocytes, microglia cells and oligodendrocytes, which we have already discussed here. Right, see, astrocytes, your microglial cells and your oligodendrocytes. But if you see the shape of the protoplasmic astrocytes and the fibrous astrocytes, which we have already discussed, you can see it is a star shaped cells. And if we talk about the fibrous astrocyte, what they do, they send its processes to the blood vessels to form the tight junctions, so that it forms a blood brain barrier and only allows the selective entry of the products from the blood to the brain. Fine. Whereas protoplasmic astrocytes, these are distributed in the gray matter mostly, and they send its impulses to the nerve cell bodies, means to the neurons. Fine. So that it provides a support to them. Now we have seen the function of it also. You can see the diagram. Let's proceed to the next. Now we will talk about the microglial cell. See the picture of it, right? See, now we will talk about the microglial cells. It's very easy, they are all the neuroglial cells. You should know because they provide the support to the central nervous system. They are important cells, right? If I tell you that these neuroglial cells, they are 10 to 15 times more than your neurons. Means if your neurons are present in the counting of the billions, so they are more than that, right? And they are mostly present at the in the site that wherever the tumor is there in the central nervous system. So there your glial cells are present. So now if you talk about the microglial cells, what are they? They are also called your neuroglial cells only, but they have some specialities or they are different from the other neuroglial cells. if I talk about, these are also situated centrally, so that is why they are called the central neuroglial cells. Fine. Mm, let's talk about the microglial cells. The microglial cells are the smallest neuroglial cells, right? They are the smallest neuroglial cells. What does it means? It means that the neuroglial cells that we are talking about, the central and peripheral, so among these are the smallest cells, right? You have seen the picture of it. It looks like this, right? I'll show you again. Fine. If I talk about the features of it, they are the smallest neuroglial cells, and the important thing is they act as your, or wait, I'll tell you. See that they are the smallest neuroglial cells, right? And if I talk about them, that what is the role of it? Like we have discussed about the protoplasmic and fibrous astrocyte. New microglial cells, what they do? They reach at the site of injury or infection. And which site I am talking about here is, see, microglial cells are present centrally, right? Means in the central nervous system. So, means wherever the injury or infection occurs in the central nervous system, the microglial cells reach there. Fine. What they do there? Let's talk about the function of the microglial cells. What they do is, you know the phagocytosis, right? You know the macrophages, what they do? Macrophages engulf the microorganism through the process of phagocytosis, right? The same function is of the microglial cells. Means microglial cells does the same things. They act as your macrophages. So they act as macrophages. But where? In the CNS, right? They act as a macrophages, but in the CNS, right? CNS means central nervous system. Fine. So what they do? They reach there and they phagocytose. They phagocytose the, or phagocytosis the microorganism. They phagocytosis the microorganism as well as debris. You know what is debris? It is a waste material. Fine. So they phagocytosis the microorganism as well as the debris. Fine. So this is the function of the microglial cells, and again the same function of the all the neuroglial cells. They provide support. They provide support to the neurons in the CNS. Fine. Clear? Now I'll show you the picture of it. I got the picture from some book. See, this is a microglial cells. Fine. And we just remain with the oligodendrocytes of the central neuroglial cells. Let's talk about that. So the third one is oligo or oligo, whatever you pronounce, dendrocytes. It has a very important role, very important role, right? So see, if we talk about the oligodendrocytes, they are also the central neuroglial cells because they are situated centrally, or they are present centrally, means in the central nervous system. Fine. So what they do, or what is the role of the oligodendrocytes? If you see in if we have the neuron, right? The neurons, the axon, the part of the neuron, that is the axon. There the myelin sheath is there. So these are the cells, the oligodendrocytes. They provide the myelination. Okay, they provide the myelination. Fine. So oligodendrocytes are also called your oligodendroglia. You can also say oligodendrocytes or the oligodendroglia. Fine. So they provide the myelin sheath, and if they provide the myelin sheath, we have learned that myelination, what they do, they act as your insulation, or they provide insulation. Fine. And third, the same function which every neuroglial cell has, it provides support to the neurons in CNS. And the fourth function, the last one, is it removes the debris also from there, right? So this is the function of oligodendrocyte. Simple, but a very important function. For example, if we talk about the peripheral nerves, there the Schwann cells are there, which provides the myelination or myelin sheath. But if we talk about the central nervous system, your brain and spinal cord, the neurons present in the brain and spinal cord. But if you know the very important point that your Schwann cells are absent in the central nervous system. So some cells has to be present which provides the myelination, right? So the oligodendrocytes are the cell which takes place or which produces the myelination in the central nervous system. Fine. Now we will talk about the peripheral neuroglial cells, because we have talked about the central neuroglial cells and we completed its classification, and our second classification is peripheral neuroglial cells. It's very easy, don't worry. I'll take your very less time. See, now if we talk about the peripheral neuroglial cells, it is again classified into two types. That is your Schwann cells and your satellite cells. Fine. Now we know what the Schwann cells do. The same function as the oligodendrocytes do. Fine. So if we talk about the Schwann cells, they provide the they wait, let me take the another pen. So they provide the myelination. They provide the myelination to peripheral neurons, because to the central neurons oligodendrocytes provide their Schwann cells absent, because so in the peripheral neurons the myelination is provided by your Schwann cells, right? So first function is this, and if the myelination is there, it also act as a insulation, so they provide insulation also. Fine. And again they provide the support to the not central, support to the peripheral neurons, means neurons which are present in the peripheral nervous system, not in the central nervous system. So they include your peripheral nerves like spinal or your cranial. So here it provides support to the peripheral neurons, right? Likewise, if we talk about the satellite cells, fine. Satellite cells are the cells which provide first is support to the peripheral neurons, and it also regulate or maintains the ECF environment in the peripheral nervous system, right? So with this our neuroglial system is complete, or the neuroglial cells are complete. Now let's revise. It's very easy. See, if we talk about the, let's revise it very quickly. We have the neuroglial cells. They are the supporting cells and they do not transmit the impulse. So they are also called the non-neural cells or the glial cells. Fine. They are present numerous in number, means more than the neurons. Fine. 10 to 15 times greater than the neurons. And if we talk about its classification, they are classified on the basis of its distribution, means wherever they are present. So they are present either centrally or peripherally. So they are called the central neuroglial cells as well as the peripheral neuroglial cells. If we talk about the central neuroglial cells, we have further classified into the three types, that is your astrocytes, your then microglial cells and your oligodendrocytes. If we talk about the astrocytes, these are further divided into fibrous astrocytes and protoplasmic astrocytes. Good. You know the function of the fibrous astrocyte, what they do, they form the blood-brain barrier, and the that your protoplasmic astrocytes, they sends the processes to the nerve cells. So it provides the stability, or it provides the support to the neurons. Fine. So if we talk about the functions of it, you know that it provides a blood, it makes a blood brain barrier, so it allows a selective entry of the products to the from the blood to the brain. Fine. So with this is complete, and then we proceed to the microglial cells. You know they act as the macrophages. So they engulf the microorganism by the process of phagocytosis. If we talk about the another glial cells, that is your oligodendrocytes, they provide the myelination. Fine. And the peripheral neuroglial cells, we have two, that is your Schwann cells and your satellite cells. Schwann cells, what they do, they provide the myelination, they provide the insulation, they provide the support by forming the connective tissue there to the peripheral neurons. And the satellite cells, again, they send its processes to the nerve cells, means your neurons, but in the peripheral nervous system. So it provides the support to the peripheral neurons, and it also regulates the environment of the ECF by maintaining the exchange. Fine. So with this, our neuroglial cells chapter completes. If you have any doubts, please post me in the comment section. If you have any query, any questions, let me know. I'll try to solve it. And please do watch my video and share it with your friends, whoever needs. And let me know in which subject you are facing the problem. So I'll help you. I'll try to help you. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thanks.